Hello, Steve White, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts89. Well, we have a little bit of an update on Noah Howley's Star Trek. It's not much, but I thought I'd talk about it. Basically, he's saying it's not dead. There was an article on Bounding Into Comics basically saying Noah Howley claims his Star Trek film isn't dead and gives update on what it entails. Now, like 9 months ago they hired him and he wrote a story and people had some confidence in it because he did the series Fargo and that's been well received, and that's working on a franchise that already exists or a film from already exists. But then we started to see cracks. Now originally he said he was going to work with the Chris Pine crew universe, the new JJ films. It was just going to be a film in that universe, the 4th film. Then they started to say, no, actually we're going to do something different. We're going to have a new crew, a new cast. Now, you have to think about what are artistic motivations and what are practical motivations. Originally, they were going to have a 4th film with the original cast and they were going to add Chris Hemsworth. That fell through because of negotiations, because they weren't prepared to pay the actors what they agreed to pay them, which does seem bizarre, unless the actors wanted more because of their new status with other films, and they thought they could get them on a contract with what they originally were supposed to be paid to return. I'm not sure what really happened there because I don't think anyone really knows. But they walked, and the film died because most of the financing for Star Trek 4 was based on being sold on the two Chris's basically. So that died, and then there was talk about the Tarantino film happening. Thank God that died. I think that is dead. I mean, everyone at Paramount loves the idea because Quentin Tarantino is a name, but they don't know what Star Trek is, and that Tarantino would absolutely do the opposite of everything they should do and totally ruin it. As far as Howley goes, though, then the issue came up. He started talking about, well, we're going to have a different crew. At first, people thought they were just going to recast, I think. And we're just going to recast and do a soft reboot. Then he was saying, no, we're going to do a different crew. It's not Kirk, it's not Picard. So that kind of scared people because, and I guess it scared Paramount, because they've already spent a whole lot of money establishing that universe, the look. They've got all the sets and everything, the costumes. That there's a lot of money saved there because all that research and development and design is already done. That universe exists. So now what they're saying is he's planning to do a movie based in the original series canon era of the 1960s. I mean, the 2260s, the 1960s series, which was 2260s, I'm forgetting. I think so. Yeah, it's the 21st century. And then Next Gen was like a century later, which is why it's taking place in the 2360s, not the 2380s, because it's not hundreds of years from the current time. It was 100 years from the original Star Trek era. So that's kind of interesting that now he's saying it's going to be canon, not JJ verse, and they're not using Kirk or Picard. And the idea is we're not doing Kirk. I'm just going to read his quote. We're not doing Kirk, we're not doing Picard. It's a start from scratch that then allows us to do what we did with Fargo, where the first 3 hours you go, oh, it's not really anything to do with the movie, and then you find the money, so you reward the audience with a thing they love. So he's talking about basically, yes, it would give them artistic freedom, but it seems also to me just a licensing play for him, because if he creates a new crew, a new character, a new ship and all that, then he gets part of the royalties for creating the models and the toys, and he's basically created his own. It seems very self-serving. He just wants to create his own Star Trek franchise, movies and characters and everything, that then he will get the even if he's not on the next film, if they continue on with these characters and the series and the comics from years, he's thinking years and decades from now, like they do with the original Star Trek, and they're not really doing with the JJ Trek, but they could. It's 10 years and it's kind of dead. It didn't sort of get a 10-year bump like everyone was reminiscing about the film like last year or anything. That didn't really happen. I don't see 15, 20 years from now people really celebrating the JJ films, and it doesn't seem to have a following like the other Star Treks do. Just like Discovery and that, I don't believe they will either. They're not popular now. I can't see them having a resurgence later. They don't have any qualities that I think are going to make people sort of hold on to them or discover them later and look for them. So yeah, I think it's in part marketing on his part. He's realised if I create my own Star Trek, then I'm going to be getting paid for it forever. So there's that element, but there is also artistic freedom that they can do whatever they want. They're not limited to anything established in any form of Star Trek, even though they're doing canon. And I guess that's also argument that we can do a canon series because it doesn't matter what we do within that series because it's not based around Kirk and Spock. So that on its own could be interesting as well. So he says a bit, and then he goes on about how he wants to focus on not so much the action and space battles and the villain of the week or villain of the film. He wants to focus more on solving problems. And he says, there's nothing better than that moment when William Shatner puts on his reading glasses and lowers Khan's shields. It doesn't cost anything, but it's that triumphant feeling about smarting your enemy. For me, it's about to be getting to those elements of the show. I don't necessarily find action in and of itself interesting unless it's story. So they go through in the article a bit of the timeline when he was hired, how he was talking about stuff. Like in January, he was just writing the script. In February, there was a rumour on 4chan saying that the film was rejected, that it was too Trekky, and that's happened before. There was apparently a really good film treatment done by Robert Orkey primarily, because he was working with Kurtzman. And it was supposed to be really brilliant. It was supposed to tie a lot of Star Trek elements together and make a trilogy out of those three films. But they rejected it. He was not happy. He also was abusing some fans online on trekmovie.com, including I was in that discussion and a bunch of other people. And it was good initially that he was responding to fans and going on the websites and talking to fans, but then he kind of got in trouble for how he was treating fans and how that looked, which at the time seemed shocking at the time, but now, considering how actors and screenwriters and producers talk to fans, particularly Star Trek fans, who they constantly characterize as racist or homophobic or istophobe if they don't like Discovery, or if they have serious critical, if they want to talk about Discovery or Picard and the issues that the show have on any intellectual, artistic level, they are just reduced to being, oh, you're homophobic or racist because you don't like this show because it's got minorities in it. When Star Trek always had minorities, and Star Trek fans are usually not people who have issues with that. There are a few random ones which make us all look bad, but acting like they're the majority, they're like the norm, is just disingenuous and offensive. So the rumour is that it's dead. He's saying it's not. When Paramount got back involved with CBS, it was put on hold while Emma Watts sort of worked out what direction to take the film series. That did seem to happen for real, and he's just saying, oh, it was just on hold while they sort of get things sorted now with the merger and everything. But I think they had lots of issues. I think it probably was too Trekky for them, which is not a bad thing. But creating a new cast, they probably don't want a new person creating a new universe that then they have to sort of deal with residuals and licensing and stuff. I think they just want to stay within the universe they've created, which they can use without having to pay anyone really, because I don't know, it's really unclear, because of course he's going to say it's still happening, it's not cancelled, it's going to happen, because he doesn't want the embarrassment of having a film that he's talked about in so much publicly die. And he's trying to get his next job. If it has been cancelled, he's trying to get his next job, and he doesn't want to be coming in the interview door as the guy who just had his film cancelled, his project cancelled, he just failed. So he's going to talk it up, either save face or just to actually try and keep interest there and actually make it happen. I really don't know what's happening with it. It's just interesting that he's talking about it and he's saying basically it's not dead, and other people saying it's very dead. I really don't want it to happen now. I know they're creating a new cast and everything. I just want to stay with Kirk and Spock because they are Star Trek. You could do Picard in that as well. You could probably reboot Picard on some level, because you can't use Patrick Stewart because he's too old now, and he's been reduced to this differing, privileged. Well, he's now. I'm not even going to go into Picard because there's some spoilers there, and I don't want to ruin it in case someone hasn't seen it and might actually enjoy it. But yeah, I'm done. I just want to talk about that because it's just interesting that he said it. What he's saying isn't interesting. Of course, he's going to say, yes, it's still going, and he's going to acknowledge that, well, things were put on hold when CBS and that got involved in Paramount again. So it's not surprising that he's made this article. I mean, it's not surprising what he said, it's surprising that he's saying it because, yeah, either he's saving face or he's trying to save the project. Or maybe it is just happening, I don't know. I just want them to continue on in the universe they've already established, keep it in the alternative universe so it doesn't affect anything in canon, because if they try and go back to canon, the other thing that worries me is if they try to go back into canon, they will really screw it up, because at least with the JJ films, we know it's an alternative universe, so anything they do there doesn't matter. Discovery, we all know it's an alternate universe as well. It's one of a multiverse, but they want it. They're pretending it's canon because they, for some reason, think they can still fool original Star Trek fans into watching it and thinking it's the same universe and the same show when it's obviously not. But I'd like to stay in the JJ universe because I just don't trust them to treat the canon universe properly, and I'd rather them just be in an alternative universe and have the original Star Trek just not die, but just be left where it was, because I don't think anyone who goes back into that universe is going to do it any justice, and I don't want to see it literally ruined. They've ruined Star Trek as a whole with the different multiverses. Each universe is different from the original Star Trek and worse, but at least the original hasn't really been touched, so I'd like them to stay out of it. So we'll see what happens. We'll know fairly soon. They'll have to start making announcements and making plans. He said he was at the point of hiring designers and working on the production side of it, but it didn't say he had, so it looks like nothing's actually happened. Looks like they stopped him before there's any actual movement. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you know anything about any leaks or any rumours, feel free to let me know in the comment section. Comments are fun. Thanks. Bye.